From Chicago, Illinois, welcome to Beer in Front.
Welcome to Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. That's Beer in Front, coming up now. Welcome to episode 110, the May 11th version of Beer in Front. I thank you so much for listening. I need to thank my wonderful wife, Ruby, for the intro. And let's just get right into it, shall we? I pronounce the state I live in Illinois. I have been told I'm incorrect. After almost 55 years of existence, I'm told that it's not Illinois, it's Illinois. I find this hard to believe. I have a Twitter poll. I'm sure everyone will join me on Team L. Well, 87.5% of you are wrong and say it's Illinois, but I need to give a big shout out to the I Had to Say It podcast and Christina Rose. You are the only two people that publicly have joined me on Team L. So maybe one day we'll have a joint podcast. We'll ride the L or something like that. Maybe we could do a film review of the great movie License to Kill. All right, I guess it's Illinois. This week is Illinois Craft Beer Week. If you did not listen to last week's show, please check that out and get more details on Illinois Craft Beer Week. This week's show is going to be rock solid. I talked to Daniel and Tiffany at the great Wish You Were Beer podcast. We had a triple from Coastal Fermentory. Stay tuned for that interview. Check their website out. Their website's great. Check their YouTube channel out, Wish You Were Beer. Next week's show, I'm talking to Ambrosia from the Northman, and we're going to talk about cider and also Cider Week that's coming up in the month of June. I want to thank my Patreons, each and every one of you. It means a lot. I thank you for signing up. If you're interested, I would appreciate it. You can go to patreon.com/beerinfront. There are other ways of getting a hold of me in the show. You could email me at dave@beerinfront.com, on Instagram and Twitter @beerinfront. I also have a Discord server and a Reddit thingamajig. I'm old. Whatever you call it on Reddit, I have one of those too. So if you need to get a hold of me, please do so. If you have any suggestions, any beers you'd like me to try, feel free to reach out. In beer news this week, sad news from Chicago, where Jonathan Cutler, who was the brewer for 19 years at Peace, passed away. Peace has won a ton of medals. I think it's been 17 GABF and 8 or 9 World Beer Cup awards. Very sad news. Rest in peace, Mr. Cutler. Furnace Room Brewery, and I guess they're hiring a head brewer, and they put an ad, I think it was an Instagram ad, that they're hiring a head brewer, and they posted a picture of a beer can with, looks like a white guy. The can was blue, but it looks like a Caucasian guy with a long beard. And the ad says, if you look like this guy, you will get the job. Furnace Room, come on. It's 2022. There are more people in the world that brew beer. Not everyone is a white guy with a beard. Furnace Room Brewery, you guys are jagoffs. Goose Island is joining the NFT craze. They're releasing 2022 Barrel House Collection NFTs. You could, I think, purchase this on May 20th. They're going to have 1,992 of them, and each of these aren't cheap. They're $499 for this NFT. Now, depending on which one you purchase or whatever, you will get or be able to get different swag or Bourbon County Stout variants, things like that. But I'm sure they'll sell out. But yeah, if you want a Goose Island NFT, if you got $499 in your wallet plus tax, you can buy one. Last week, the Craft Beer Conference was held in Minneapolis, and they released the winners of the World Beer Cup 2022. A lot of winners, couple from Illinois, Mickey Finn's, and also Roaring Table won a medal, but the one thing that has had people kind of in an uproar was Allagash White. World famous beer, world class beer. No one's ever said a bad thing about Allagash White. But in that category, they only announced one winner. Allagash White won a bronze. They didn't have a gold or a silver. You mean to tell me there was 102 total entries. 101 of them weren't worthy of any medal. I don't want to disparage the judges or anything like that, but why don't you just make the top 3 beers gold, silver, and bronze? Some other judges, maybe not associated with this, have come out and said, well, they didn't meet certain standards or whatever. But you're also talking about Allagash White. This beer has won this contest before. They've won 3 golds, a silver, and a bronze before 2022, so you can't tell me that this beer is not worthy of a gold. If it was the best of the best out of 102 entries, give them the gold medal. It just puts the rest of the awards, in my opinion, it just shines a negative light on it. There's going to be a new spiked seltzer coming out soon, available in certain states. Calidad, which is a regular seltzer based out of Mexico, is releasing a spiked version, and they have 4 flavors that I need to pick this up. They're going to have a hibiscus watermelon, guava pineapple, prickly pomegranate. So 3 different versions of this. All 3 of those sound outstanding. This is only going to be available in California and Arizona, and then Texas and Colorado will get those later this year. So I need to find somebody in these states that could hook me up, because these seltzers sound excellent. All right, welcome back. I am happy to have on Daniel and Tiffany. They're 2/3 of the Wish You Were Beer podcast, which you could find on YouTube every week. Daniel, Tiffany, thanks for coming on. How's everything going tonight?
Everything's going great, Dave. It's good to see you in person and not just hear your voice.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I love what you guys do. It's great. Now, you come out every week?
Yeah, so we do a live show every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's streamed initially on YouTube, and now we're also streaming it through Twitter and Facebook Live as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do a new beer, sometimes even a new style every week. And we try to feature beers from across the United States, but much like the beer we sent you, it is a local beer to us, which is a lot easier to get our hands on.
Mm-hmm.
What led you down the road to doing this? How long have you been doing the YouTube show? Also, before I forget, you got to check out their website. Their website is terrific. They break everything down for style. So if you're looking, what ales they had or lagers they had or this or that, their website is brilliant. But what led you down the road? What made you say, you know what? I want to try this?
Yeah, it was kind of actually a little bit pandemic driven. So I know that's a shock, right?
Yeah.
So Phil, who's our other co-host on the show as well, him and I we went to college together in New York years and years ago. And he reached out to me at the beginning of the pandemic because he knows I'm a big beer drinker. Me and Tiffany are always seeking out new beers, and said, hey, with the onset of Zoom, why don't we meet once a week and try a beer that we can all get our hands on? And you know what? Let's record it.
Yeah. And so we've been trying to coordinate beers with him, being differently located. And we've been trying to have a new beer every week. And we brought in another friend of ours, Vero, who actually is responsible for
said website.
For the website and a lot of our history facts that, I will sometimes make her help me look up. But yeah, so the four of us now are working all together, and it has been a little over a year now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we kicked off right around St. Patrick's Day last year.
Correct. Yep.
Do you have any like future plans? Are you gonna where is Phil located in regard, in relation to where you're at?
Yeah, so Tiffany and I are in Virginia, and Phil is actually in California.
Oh,
so
okay.
He was in New York, but he was moved out to California 5-6 months ago, give or take.
Yep.
So so we use a lot of beer subscription services so that we can get said beers. So like Tap War, Beer Drop, Hop Time, are all these different services. But honestly, I think the goal for us is obviously we love trying new beers and new breweries. So we're finally getting to a point now where we've got enough followers. We're getting a little bit of attention to where we can actually reach out to some of these breweries that aren't just our local ones.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the future we're looking at visiting some more of these places in person versus just having them on the show remotely, especially now that things are easing a little bit within the pandemic world. Also, we're in the process of setting up some merch. We don't quite have it up and running yet, but merch will be soon to follow, which should be fun.
Yes. And we've been creating a lot of really cool pieces. So that is definitely coming. And then on top of that, I mean, outside of like going to festivals and all that sort of stuff and just being the non-influencer beer people. I don't want to be your beer influencer.
Yes.
But also we have been working with some of our local breweries to convince them to let us co-brew some beer with them. So we're going to
awesome.
have some collaboration beers coming out hopefully the next 6 months.
Yeah, we have a collaboration in the works right now with a local brewery. So we'll be able to brew it with them and have the Wish You Were Beer Show moniker all over it, and should be fun.
Sweet. So you have the little logo on there too. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. It should have our QR code on there as well. So they distro a little bit heavier, and they've got a lot of presence here in the local area. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that sounds terrific.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first beer you had, like craft beer, that made you say, "Oh shit, there's another world out there besides Bud, Miller, Coors, all of that"?
100%. I know Tiffany's answer, and I'm going to let her go next because hers will be more long-winded than mine. So being in college, we drank just about anything we could buy illegally underage, so it didn't really matter. But I remember the first time I had a Newcastle.
All right.
At the time, it was a darker beer. It was a cooler label. It was just something out of the ordinary, and I think that was the first beer I had where I thought beer could be different than what I've been drinking.
Yeah. And so my dad was a big beer fan, and he always had Fat Tire. He always had Sierra Nevada Pale Ale in the fridge. And then there'd be like the standard like Coronas, but we really didn't have a lot of like the Budweisers and things like that. So my first actual beer was actually a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And at the time, I had zero taste for beer, and it was a harsh awakening of, I'm not interested in this. However, in like college time frame, I remember everyone would be really excited when there would be like a Coors Light keg versus like a Bud Light keg because it had a little bit more flavor to it. But at the time, I had a pretty good job, so I'd usually go get myself a 6-pack of Fat Tire and bring that. And then slowly but surely, like, drink my few beers and maybe coerce someone to like buy food for me, and I'd like bribe them with a beer. But yeah, I think Fat Tire, and then I came back around to Sierra Nevada, and it is like my coming home beer of just it's my comfort level beer.
Yeah.
So that's what I grab when I'm just I don't know what I want to drink, but I definitely need a beer.
So you're the people that, like, if you're invited to a wedding and this is not going to be good, you smuggle in your own 6-pack.
You can 100% count on that. It has
Yeah.
been done at weddings.
Yeah.
We lucked out. One of the first weddings we went to after Tiffany and I were dating was a good friend of hers back in California. And we go to this wedding. It's up in the mountains. It's a beautiful setup. And one of the people working there worked with Russian River.
Oh.
So he had a whole cooler of Pliny the Elder.
He wasn't working there. He was one of the invitees.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
He was a guest of the wedding, but he also worked at Russian River.
Yeah.
And he just had a whole cooler full of Pliny the Elder. So I was like, well, I don't need to sneak any beer in here. We won the lottery.
There's a very great photo of us with them and us with the bottle. And it was like this prized baby possession that we're like holding up. And gosh, I think that was one of the big hits of that whole like trip out there.
True story.
So you're taking like a marker for the table numbers and just making sure you're both at the same table.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit next to that guy.
Yeah, right. Depends on how many of them I have, though. You may regret that decision.
And then they finally caved and gave us one. I think it took a little bit of coercion.
Yeah.
Just looking with this sad look on your face, like, please, please.
We're not from here.
Well, you were kind enough. You hooked me up with a few different ones from Virginia. The one we're going to have now is called Monk Rock. This is from Coastal Fermentory. They're in collaboration with Float. This is a Belgian triple at 8.4%. I'm looking forward to cracking this one open.
Such a pristine sound.
Oh, wow. I really get like the aroma right. It just hits you as you're pouring it.
So we actually have a Coastal Fermentory cup from their 1-year anniversary. It seemed appropriate that we poured it in that one as well.
Yes. It is a hard to come by cup.
Since you mentioned Fat Tire, I'm having the new Belgium glass here.
Nice.
Yeah. No, this smells really good. You definitely get the Belgian yeast from this. It has that almost like juicy fruit gum kind of like aroma to it.
Juicy fruit gum may be the best description of that aroma that I think I've ever heard, actually. Because that's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, how do you really describe this? Everyone's had juicy fruit, maybe not in 20 years, but everyone's had juicy fruit.
It's been a couple of years, but yes.
Yeah. But that flavor or that aroma is very specific.
I was going to say, and, for being, 8.4? So for being an 8.4, this is like, and pretty much every Belgian triple is such a smooth drinking, but this one in particular, because it is so fruit on the nose and it's not like harsh, it is a dangerous drinker.
Yeah, because I'm always worried.
I pick up a little of the alcohol towards the end of this, but I mean, the flavor's great.
Yeah, and I think the flavor outweighs some of that alcohol bite that I do get, like you said, with Belgian triples specifically. I do usually get a little bit of a boozy like towards the end of it, but I think the front end flavors on this one just really balance it out nicely so that it's not so abrasive. Yeah. I always hate using the term masked though, because I feel like they're trying to hide something. You know what I mean? Like I know like it's a positive thing, but
hide the alcohol from me. That's great. This is why I can't do cocktails.
Right.
Because I go, oh, there's no alcohol in this, and I'm on the floor.
Now, Dave, do you know where the Belgian triple name comes from?
Yes, actually. Let me pull out my sheet here.
You got a cheat sheet?
I have a cheat sheet, yes. So according to the BJCP guidelines, this has only been around for 90 some years. This really came out in 1934, obviously from Belgium. I mean, Chimay is the most popular, of this style, but you have others. But I think Chimay didn't even start brewing this until like the mid 60s. So it's not an old style.
No. And I'm sure there was some variations of it prior to it actually being what it is today, which is probably where that 1960s time frame comes from, because they finally really pinned it down, did it consistently, and did it well consistently instead of like some one-offs.
Well, so the original, when we actually did a Belgian triple on our show, one of the things that I found in my research was that there really wasn't anything. There was no just Belgian, there was no triple, there was no double, there was no quad, right? There was no differentiating. So they would put them in barrels, and based on what the alcohol content was, they'd just put either 1X, 2Xs, or 3Xs. And so usually the 3X ones were the ones that were drank earlier on, just because, why Why not? But that was kind of how the double, triple kind of started coming into play. And the quad is a much even more recent than the triple as far as the recipe being a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So it's
they're delicious beers. I'm a big fan of Belgian.
Yeah. And it's like brewers are the same worldwide. I mean, it's like with IPAs. Oh, well, let's make this an imperial. Let's do this. Yeah. So they did the same. Yeah, but no, this has a great color. You can't see it because it's audio. A nice pale color to it. Excellent carbonation on here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I was actually a little worried about that because I know we sent you the beer a little bit ago before we were able to get together. So I was kind of worried how it was going to hold up with this style specifically. So I'm glad it's still got the carbonation.
Yeah. Well, this was the one beer. So Coastal Fermentory actually gifted the beer pack that we gave to you.
Okay.
So shout out to Mike Reppert, one of the owners and brewers. He really was like, okay, do Monk Rock. Like that is the one I want you guys to do on this show because they're so proud of like how this one turned out. And it is something that's a little bit unusual as far as styles go. You don't see too many of them, but this is he chose well.
True story.
Yeah, no, this is excellent. Thank you to them. Thank you. Maybe it's me, but I'm getting like a little spice towards the end too. I don't know if it's a little bit of the hops. Yeah, it's like a spicy, not hot pepper spicy, but it's a spiciness at the end. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think I get some of that from a lot of the Belgian mixtures with that clove aspect of it because and clove can be really sharp depending on how much of it you're using or what part of the process it's involved in. But yeah, I get a little bit of spice out of it as well, which again, never complain about that. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like beers that have a little more complexity to them, and I think that's kind of like when you start graduating away from the Bud Lights, you look for a little bit more complexity, and this one certainly has a couple different levels to the drinking.
We were talking a little bit before we were recording about Coastal, and this is in collaboration with Float. What can you tell people about both places, Coastal, Float? Does Coastal have a tap room? Is it a restaurant?
So Coastal, it's fun because I grew up in Newport News. That's where I'm born and raised from. Coastal, their tap room is actually all the way downtown Newport News. It's in the same area as the Newport News shipyard, which in our area, Newport News Shipbuilding puts out the majority of pretty much every battleship and submarine and aircraft carrier made in the past 20 years. Yeah. So it's a really huge, weird industrial section, and they bought this cool building down there right on the waterfront, right across from the coal plants, right across from the shipyard.
Yeah.
So it's a really like kind of weird industrial but pretty setting. So they do have a tap room. They're food truck oriented. So like most breweries in our area, because in Virginia, there's different health codes if you have an actual restaurant versus a food truck, which is nice. And the cool part with Coastal is they share a parking lot with Ironclad Distillery, and they know each other pretty well. They're good friends from across the parking lot. So anything that Coastal puts out that is barrel aged, they're using Ironclad barrels from the whiskey across the street. Oh man, it's fantastic! All their barrel aged stuff is amazing.
Stuff they do is really, really great.
Yeah, and we were talking pre-show about Float. We actually don't know that much about Float Fermentory. They do have a beer, and I've seen their beer around, but I think they contract brew. Mm-hmm. They did this in collaboration with Coastal, so I know there was some Instagram pictures of them on site, but I still don't really know what they do or don't do.
Yeah. So there's a distribution service near us called Pretty Ugly, and they are involved with them from what I was able to find out. Mm. But it looks like they are just kind of using everyone else's spaces to either do collaboration beers or like their own one-offs.
They did a collaboration. Float did a collaboration with Ouzelfinches, or Nost, technically.
Yeah.
Which is another local brewery as well. So I see them doing a lot of collaborations, but Coastal's a really pretty site. Like the venues is weird because you come all the way through the shipyard.
Yeah, through like the court system.
The court system for Newport News is like a block away, which is nice because if you have a few too many, it's a light walk to go to court. But really, at the end of the day, though, my favorite thing in regards to their brewery specifically is probably the people.
Yeah, they have a fantastic staff.
Yeah, the staff and the owners are amazing. The regulars in there, it kind of upsets the balance of a standard brewery because you get a lot of guys coming off shift work at the shipyard who just want their Tiger team, their regular lager.
Which is a fantastic lager, by the way. That's the one we did on our show.
And then you get lawyers coming from the court system who stop at Ironclad first and have a whiskey and then come over and have a light beer. Right. It's a really eclectic mix of folks in there, which is always my favorite.
And then you just have us.
Yes.
We're just here to drink some beer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, some of the places here that I like, it's the same thing. It's like a neighborhood spot. You have everybody there. It's not just bearded guys, talking about the latest hazy IPA. It's a good crowd of people. Yes, that's the place I like.
Right. I agree 100% because unfortunately, there's some breweries around us that are pretty close that are pretty elite or elitist in their own mind. And not a day goes by that I don't think about your tagline of "Don't be a jag-off" because I'm like, come on, guys, it's beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just drink it. Let's all be friends.
Right.
Everyone's fine. Yeah. We're here. Yeah. You're here. It's great.
Yeah. Just drink, what's in front of you. It's a good beer. I'm not going to judge you if you're not drinking the latest, thing that people are waiting in line a block to get.
True story.
That is a thing. I am actually really excited to see that there's a lot more lagers, at least in our area, that continue to come out. Because if you ask any brewer, they always are talking about they love brewing IPAs because it's a really quick turnaround. It's a really fun, creative, innovative process. But the lagers are what they want to drink at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so seeing all these lagers coming out, one, that's what I like to drink.
Right.
But two, it just means that maybe that's going to become like the next thing. So
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
It will come full circle again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what started the beer movement. It will be in the beer movement again relatively consistently.
Either that or I need everyone to start getting on board with the cask ales.
Yeah.
But no one likes those. Even people who like to drink them don't like to brew them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just the time it takes to get it out there. You could do 2 batches of something else that's going to sell. I mean, I don't blame breweries for putting out hazy IPAs all the time because they got to pay the bills. So, if that's what people are buying, God bless you, put them out.
Yep.
Right, exactly. They sell well. They have a really quick turnaround time from like brewing to table, I guess.
Brewing to table. Okay, we just officially changed our tagline for the show. We're a brewing to table show.
But no, so like it's a really quick turnaround. Whereas you look at some of like the more like the cold ferment like lagers, it is like a 6-week process, and so paying those bills, like if you're not pumping beers out every couple of weeks,
takes up a lot of tank space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever get your sash, your Boy Scout sash for all your Untapped badges? What's the status of your sash?
Listen, I hate to say this, but I'm a whore for Untapped badges. I love them. Like when they made those, I was exactly who they had in mind because I'm not a big social media person, but when Untapped came around and badges became a thing, I was like, well, obviously I have to get all of them. So not only do I like to try new beers, and everywhere we go, we seek out new beers, no matter where we're at. But the badges are fantastic, and every time I get one that's like a Doppelbock, and it's the little Arnold Schwarzenegger character, and it says "I'll be Bach," I'm like, I love this. I love this so much.
Yes.
I'm surprised like you don't have a sleeve of all your Untapped badges.
Oh, gosh.
Listen, Dave, don't encourage this because Tiffany is crafty enough and I would 100% wear it that we could probably make this.
I would just start tattooing your legs with all your badges.
Yeah.
We get the Cricut machine out. We'll get the Cricut. We'll get you some stuff. Absolutely.
That's right. Now we, it's funny because we started using Untapped. So we use Untapped on our show to check in our beers. That's kind of what we use as our ranking system, and more so just a catalog as well, because it's already built into their software that we can keep up on everything. But yeah, the badges came around, and every now and again a new badge comes out. So whenever Tiffany and I are somewhere and we check in a beer and there's a new badge,
It's
we're all
like,
like, "Oh,
it is probably embarrassing,
it
but
is."
we don't care.
Yeah.
But
Keeps you off the streets. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
There's
sort of.
far worse things you could be collecting than
That's
badges.
what I say.
Yeah.
Exactly. I say that all the time. There's far worse check-ins I could be making than beers. So
Yeah.
I don't know. My doctor probably has something to say.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
Yeah. I saw one of mine today. He's like, how much do you drink? As I have my own shirt on.
Right.
One a day, bro. It's all I have. Like one a day. Yeah.
Yeah. Lies. All lies. Yeah.
I drink enough.
Yeah.
That's always my answer.
Yeah.
Enough?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't ask you about your habits, doctor.
Now, you guys are located in Newport News, Virginia. What's the scene like there? What can people do if they go out to visit?
So the fun part is, Coastal's in Newport News. Tiffany and I are actually technically in Yorktown, which is, if you're familiar with American history, we're in the historic triangle. So we're in Yorktown, Williamsburg, and Jamestown. Like all that's within 20 minutes of us. Newport News has got a really great beer scene currently. I mean, there's
more popping up all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird like microbreweries that are popping up that are working on like 5-barrel systems.
Okay.
They don't distribute at all.
Yep.
And if you're lucky enough to go by there and have a great beer, fantastic. There's a couple of mainstays that have been here, 6+ years that kind of started the movement in this area. But the nice part is we're close enough. Like from a triangulation standpoint, we can get to Virginia Beach in less than an hour. We can get to Charlottesville, up near like the Nelson 151 in less than 3 hours. But like, there's this kind of weird middle ground that the peninsula sits on where Newport News is located.
And Richmond's about an hour away as well.
Yeah, Richmond's about an hour away. So it's kind of nice because initially I think there was probably 1 or 2 breweries in the area that were just getting started.
Yep.
One of the oldest breweries in our area is actually in Williamsburg, and
Aleworks.
Yeah, Aleworks, and they've kind of always been a mainstay. So it's funny because when you go have beers here, you go to a brewery, and 2 out of 5 people that work there started at this one brewery in the same area.
Yeah, Aleworks is like everyone starts from there. It seems
right.
They know how to hire people,
train them, and spit them back out, which is nice because it's led to a lot of really consistently good brewing.
Yep.
Which is great. So the beer scene's fantastic. If nothing else, the history scene is crazy out here.
Yep.
I mean, again, within one day, you can go to 3 of the most historic sites in the history of the United States, which is for us a huge blast as well.
Giant history nerds.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why we have our history and facts section.
Now, for people that are like traveling out there, can you get an Airbnb? Like, what would you rather do? Get an Airbnb or get a hotel?
So I mean, we personally would rather get an Airbnb. It's not a Williamsburg, Newport News, Yorktown, Hampton, the local area that's within this zip code or within the area code is not walking friendly. So you got to drive. Yeah. So you can get an Airbnb 20 minutes from here, and that's a normalcy, and probably still cheaper than a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a couple like city centers that you can get a hotel in and stay
and kind of walk around. And there's a couple breweries within those city centers, especially in Newport News,
or at least bars that have a wide variety of local beers.
Yeah, a lot of our regular bar scene focuses really heavily on beers from the area.
Yep.
So you'll still get your Bud Lights, you'll still get your Budweiser, you'll still get your Sierra Nevada, or something that's mainstream. But then they'll have 3, 4, 5 tap handles that are usually at least from breweries in the area, which is fun.
Obviously, if you were putting together a mix pack, Coastal would be number 1. But say you're putting together a mix pack of beers from local breweries near you. What would you put in there? What would you recommend for people? Like, this is a good starter point from what you could get from Newport News in our area. From there, go with it. So what would be in your mix pack?
I think so I'll do 3, you pick the other 3.
Okay, so you start, and then I'll pick up wherever the slack is.
Correct. But I'm going to take all the best ones, so good luck.
Okay.
So absolutely, pretty much anything that Coastal puts out, they have not missed a beer, but they have a saison that they've done a couple variations of, which saisons are my favorite. They originally started out as farmers only saison, as a joke on the dating app, and then their second variation of it was "City folks just don't get it," which is the tagline from the dating app. That saison was amazing, and they're in the process of brewing a dry hop saison right now that I can't wait for because it's my favorite style. So the City folks just don't get it from Coastal, which is a saison. From a flagship beer standpoint, Virginia Beer Company up in Williamsburg, their original IPA, which is called Free Verse, is just historically good in a lot of different facets.
Yeah. And that's actually widely available. They have a really good distribution.
Yeah, they distro really heavy, so you can actually probably find Free Verse up and down the East Coast, and even in Japan, England, a couple other places.
Sweet.
Okay. Yeah. My third one, that gets a little tougher, but there's a brewery over in Norfolk that also distros really heavily called Smart Mouth. You can find them pretty much throughout the United States in some capacity. Again, they do a farmhouse ale called Alter Ego, which is amazing. I'm a big, funky, weird beer fan. So all your saisons, your farmhouses, just any of that variety, I'm a big fan of.
All right. So you did Virginia Beer, you did Coastal, and you did Smart Mouth.
Correct.
Okay. So my 3, let's start with Norfolk. So we'll do Benchtop.
Okay.
So Benchtop, Eric is the brewer over there, and he is amazing in the fact that all of his beers are extremely technical.
Mm-hmm.
He like weighs things out to like multiple percentage points, like decimal points.
Yeah.
Like it is a very scientific way of brewing. And of course, I can't remember the actual beer name. I was hoping we were just talking about breweries. But anything that he does that is foeder fermented, they're really big on their foeder fermented. They have all been absolutely phenomenal.
Correct.
So I'll come back with the name of those.
That's all right.
As of right now, just anything from them is pretty good, but specifically the foeder fermented.
Yeah, we were doing an 8.4, so you can come back to it. That's fine.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. We'll see you in a week, Dave.
Thanks. Well, I'll email you tomorrow. And then coming back across the water into Hampton, Nost and Ouzelfinch. So they are under one roof. Ouzelfinch is the first brewery actually on Fort Monroe. So if you want to do like a history tour, Fort Monroe was a moat fort actually during the Civil and Revolutionary War. In the Civil War, it was one of the locations where freed slaves could go and be safe. Okay. So super cool, a lot of history, and you can actually walk around the top of the moat. And so Ouzelfinch is on that island, I think.
It's a declassified military base.
Okay. Yep. So anyway, super, super cool. They have a cool casemate museum where, who was imprisoned there?
Not me. That's all I care.
Yeah, but it was one of the, like Confederate, generals was imprisoned there. So anyway, big history scene. But Ouzelfinch just, actually created a like secondary brewery within the same house called Nost, which is short for nostalgic. And it's where they're doing a lot of their, like lagers and just kind of more of the beers that you want to drink on a regular basis. They remind you of kind of some of your first beers.
Okay.
And they just did a Kolsch that is called Daniel.
Nope, it's not
called
Daniel.
Yeah. No.
They called it Kolsch Daniel. That was great.
Can't believe they tagged me on that.
They just did a Kolsch. I should have like prepped for this.
That's all right. That's all right. No one listens here. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Great. No one cares. All right. Nost. Yeah. A lot of their beers have been really good, but we just recently had a Kolsch from there that was phenomenal. And I love Kolsch's because they're kind of like this weird love child between like lagers and ales. It's a like cold fermented ale.
One more.
I know. So one more. Let's see. So you did BBC. Let's do Precarious.
Oh, yeah. I
So
forgot about Precarious.
Precarious is a little further up, and they are in Williamsburg as well, but they're actually in the Colonial Williamsburg area. So fantastic place to park. They have a food truck in there that's like a bunch of tacos, and it's amazing.
Well, they have a permanent restaurant.
Yes,
it's, not a food
it's
truck.
like a food truck, but it's inside. It's like in a shipping container.
Mhm.
It's very cool.
Right.
They have a bunch of games and things you can play, like pinball, and it's like an arcade style. So they have similar in the fact of Coastal, and they're constantly pumping out different new beers. But they have a beer called Kung Fu Kittens that is fantastic, and every time that comes out, I'm always very excited about it.
Yeah.
A lot of their beers are named after like fun games and things you played as a kid. So I think they just re-released the Everything But the Swings Are Lava.
Right. Yeah.
It's the name of another IPA, but all of their IPAs are amazing. And most of them are doubles.
Oh, and actually, yeah, we'll send you one because they just did a collab with Coastal, and it's a triple IPA, so it's called Galactic Kittens. Oh God,
it is amazing.
Yeah.
We'll send you this mix pack.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tiffany, Daniel, I want to thank you both for coming on. Thank you to Coastal Fermentory for the wonderful Monk Rock. This is excellent. If you see this, if you're in the Virginia area and you see Monk Rock, pick it up. It's excellent. 8.4%. Really, really good. So thank you to them for sending it to you, for sending it over here. Once again, where can people find you, your website, your socials, your YouTube, everything?
Yep. So it's really simple. The website is, of course, www. In case you forget that.
Wish you W's or three?
That's two. Yes. You need three W's. It's www.wishyouwerebeershow.com.
Mm-hmm.
We also have an Instagram. You can find us. It's actually wish.u. So go through the whole thing with
all the dots.
Yeah.
We've got Facebook. We are on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We have a YouTube channel. All of them are going to be on our Wish You Were Beer show.
Yep. But if you go to the YouTube channel, as always, which everyone's familiar with, make sure you like the page. Make sure you subscribe to it.
Yep.
And come see us every Thursday night live at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do a show every week.
Yep. And if you're logged into YouTube, you can comment along and play trivia with us, which is always fun.
All right. So once again, Tiffany, Daniel, thank you so much for everything. Thanks for coming on. Check them out on YouTube every Thursday at Wish You Were Beer. I will see you guys down the road. Thank you once again. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Of course. Bye, Dave. Thanks.
All right. Seeing that it's Craft Beer Week in the great state that starts with an IL, I'm going to have is the beer in front, Anti-Hero from Revolution. This has been around for, 12 years now? Great IPA, great Chicago brewery. So let's have the Anti-Hero. Oh, Anti-Hero is wonderful. Great color, nice. Not a pale color. You could definitely see the caramel malts in here. Wonderful color on Anti-Hero. The aroma smacks you right up front with the hops. I'm getting from the aroma, I get like a combination of pine and citrus, but it has a phenomenal aroma. Let's taste this here. Yeah, that's just a great IPA. Old school West Coast style. I know Revolution has a lot of different IPAs in their Hero series, but this is the OG, the Anti-Hero. Just a phenomenal beer. Everything about Anti-Hero is top notch. Has a wonderful finish. You get the bitterness at the end that you do with more old school West Coast IPAs. This has 65 IBUs and it's 6.7% alcohol, but everything about this is just great. It's just a wonderful Chicago IPA, a Midwest IPA. Like I said, they have a lot of different Hero Series IPAs now. They have a League of Heroes 12-pack that I think you can get everywhere. I've even seen those at my Aldi where you can get Anti-Hero, Hazy Hero. I think there's a Mosaic Hero, Jukebox Hero. There's a lot of heroes involved, but they're all good. So whatever you see from Revolution, you could pick them up outside of the great state of Illinois if you want. But if you're in the Illinois state, this is going to bug the hell out of me. It's Illinois. But however you pronounce our state, you could find Revolution, and I would pick up Anti-Hero. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this week's episode of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. Once again, I want to thank Daniel and Tiffany over at the great Wish You Were Beer show. Check them out, and thank you to Coastal Fermentory. I've said that word 3 different ways today. It's going to be like Illinois. So Coastal, accept my apologies, and hopefully one of those was the right way. But I want to thank you for sending over Monk Rock. That was a delightful beer. If you're in the Virginia area, please check out Coastal. Next week's going to be a great show as well. I'm going to talk to Ambrosia over at the Northman on Chicago's Riverwalk, and we're going to have some cider. Enjoy Craft Beer Week, everyone. I will see you next week on Beer in Front.